The building is finished. We still, it can be used already. So it's a hostel and a training center. Maybe in the future we'll change, add solar on that building. The last one is the SGP. We already have the NOA.
Sign and seal.
Sign and seal. So that's the...
Nothing to clever about, guys.
Hard work is...
So back to the collaboration, the university collaboration. We are not talking about Southeast Asia leader, we are talking about global leader. Because most of what British studied in like 100, 150 years ago were mostly archived in NUS. I hope we'll build capacity for the CSBO HCV project. Since September last year, I've been working on this, trying to trace all the rivers and watershed in Sabah. It is really complicated, and therefore I have to start from scratch. But I have to keep on working on it, on this, especially this mapping, because if we don't have a proper map, then we can't say that we are trying to conserve HCV4.
It's the SALIBI, it's the Sustainable Alternative Livelihood for Youth in Borneo. That's the partnership that we have with Rally International. The first phase will be on awareness on environment, on their environments. That means in this series of 5 clusters, we will go and have this kind of training. This is the first one in Paus, where 7 or 8 villages. And then the second series will happen middle of the year, which is the economy or entrepreneurship. So the last 1.5 minute maybe is to connect this PS thing, which I'm involved in the landscape of Penampang. But cut the story short, we say we managed to get the proposal approved 2 days ago from Hazana, 7th of March. Yeah. So with a 90% discount.
So now Sue, the honey badger, so perfect for her, will be facilitating the whole comms team. Jazz and I will be focusing on more of the writing. We'll be creating a standard template to get more information for grant proposals, even for grant structures will be developed. And then because we have 2 grants that have been approved already, SGP and PES, so my time and the comms time will be dedicated to PES and SGP for the month of April. So I went to Pitas Laut with Neville, and it was so amazing to see him in his element, doing his own thing, and there's so many memories that we created together. And then I think the best part was finding out about the Pitas Laut communities, traditional customs.
SSPA's progress. Forever Sabah was invited by the SSPA's partners to get involved and basically help a group of organizations like WWF, Scuba Zoo, Scuba Junkie and others doing great work individually to do slightly better work collectively. Cynthia and Ken introduced us, the SSPA, to an American funding also partnership, a global partnership on sharks and rays. We did put in a relatively major funding application nearer the end of last year. Tragically, at the very end of last year, we found out we didn't get that. We put in for 2 years of funding. Some other people in this room put in work into that as well. We didn't get it. We had a call this morning with the prospective funders who have asked us to reapply for 1 year of funding, half the amount for 1 year to see how we go from here.
The main focus of the work since for the past 6 months, 8 months is the mapping work. Some communities have collected so much data. Some communities barely have any data, and I've been collecting all of them and learning how to make those maps using ArcGIS. We aim to finish it by May this year before we go on to the next step, which is to help, to do a training on community protocols. We are thinking of inviting Agnes Agama. We want to talk to her about it later. apart from the mapping work, there's a lot of information gathering process taking place. Not just the communities, but for myself and for Rosalie and the whole team. And apart from that, we also try to fundraise small amounts of money to actually do trial and error activities, or maybe pilot it in the next few months. In terms of water quality, there's been a bit of delay with it, but just last week, the DA for Kinabatangan informed me that NRE decided to give the money. We helped SFD to do the proposal actually. The money is just to get the equipment, sophisticated equipment.
The first one is focusing on legal education and technical research. So as most of you know, hopefully we had 4 interns from the University of Queensland here in January till early Feb. And it was the first batch of students for the accredited legal clinic. So they got credit for this for their law degree, and we have an agreement with the University of Queensland to have students over the next 3 years to do similar arrangements. So this is great for Forever Sabah. We have students who are doing technical research for the different areas of work. And it's also good for the students to gain some exposure to civil society, government, and so on. So in terms of legal education for ASEAN universities, so this photo is actually from last Saturday. There's a tree planting with the judiciary at the SPCA in KK. And this is, well, it was fun, and it was great to have the judiciary really working on this tree planting initiative, but kind of symbolically, the tree planting for me and Harry is trying to put the roots down in the region with Malaysian and other ASEAN universities and law schools. And finally, NUS in Singapore. So we've been in touch with them for quite a while now in the law faculty, trying to set up, again, accredited legal clinics, technical research with the law students, and so on. So CSPO initiative, again, a number of us are involved in this, but this is sort of an ongoing area of work that we're involved in as well on the kind of legal policy side, particularly the FPIC working group. So this is a photo from the FPIC guide workshop in mid-Feb. And again, kind of symbolically, it's people around the table, and this process has been really fascinating for bringing people to the table who otherwise wouldn't probably sit together very often.
This is something new that Gamut and Sophia have been trying to create in the past January. So this compost, we sell them in Monsoper, and also a course that people in Monsoper can take in collaboration with Gamut. These are the tire beds that Philip did for the pilot test, and also a few landscaping for the upcoming compost party in Gamut. And something new that me and Philip has been thinking of is to process compost, you need to turn it like every 3 days to turn it. So what we do, this is one man army work. Because there's only one chicken. Last time there's like a few chicken, so they escaped and our dog them. So this is the one left. So we've been searching for chicken yesterday.
I was trying to think about ways I could sum up not only what's happened in the last few months, but also my engagement with the process. And I picked on this example, the article that came out in Manga Bay about citizen science, water quality, and so on. And that seemed to capture to me both what is exciting about Forever Sabah, but also what I can add to that process. Meanwhile, although I'm supposedly retired, I will continue to deploy this thing that I happen to know about and passionate about in dragonflies as a kind of living example of citizen science, which the great thing about these dragonflies is that they both tell us about the quality of water, but they also tell us about the quality of land, because they rely on both in the forest. And they're beautiful, attractive, they're things people are interested in, they can very easily do very powerful citizen science on this issue. And it also gives me a chance to do the other thing which I care a lot about, which is mentoring and teaching of young people and so on. We are about to start building our place, and that's of course one of the things that I will be doing as I opportunity to try to get my health situation sorted out, spending time there supervising a building project. Not known for improving health, but I'm hoping that the dawn which comes every day there will play a very positive role. And of course, as soon as we've got our own residents sorted there, we will turn to the process we told you about before with the overall building, which is transforming it into a place with an additional meeting room here, which we can use for the retreats, for the Sabah Institute training and other kinds of activities for the movement as a place of a different kind of learning.
For our work for CSPO this past two months, so we are more focused on getting Sumuku to the district office and the communities in the 3 districts in Buluran, Kinabatangan and Tongod areas. So we went to visit the district office and meet them and have meeting and explain them about what is our work, what we want to do. And most of them don't have any objection, so they already give us a letter of going to the village, letter of support. We also went to visit 10 villages in each of the district. Then for around 30 villages. So we went to discuss, and through our criteria that we set up, then we already select every district 5 villages. Where in Batangan we select Balat, Sangau, Muhiba, Kasih Sayang, and Sinarjaya. So in Buluran we have Rancangan Kokos, Sungai Rumus, Cendramata, Dompiron, Malapi. And in Tongod, Tampasak, Intilibon, Tongodon, Maliao, and Mananam. So that's a new area that going to do baseline and our focus work for this year. Part of that, we also finalizing all the questionnaire, where with help from Nikki and Holly. So from 15 pages become 36 pages. So of questionnaire, our field officers already went to Buluran areas to do the baseline this morning.
As you all know, the SFI is the largest FMU area outside of Yayasan Sabah within Sabah, so it's 283,000 hectares. It's the part of Sabah that links to Sarawak and Kalimantan, and this area is in dire trouble. So we interject with our thinking and say, you can't keep bailing out a model that doesn't work. At some point you have to see what's not working. So we called it the SFI reboot. Yes, there is a process here, which is this is the FPIC working group sharing with the larger steering committee members within the jurisdiction certification process the FPIC guide for everyone to try to get on the same page and understand it. Of course, it's a huge thing to understand. But what was interesting for me is to take a few steps back and watch what was happening here between civil society, industry, and government, and having conversations we've never had before. And now we have the mandate, the spaces created to have those conversations. They're not easy. They're they range from very contentious and very conflicted to people, being so frustrated they can barely stay in the room. But then you see moments of people getting it, and moments when people see that working in this way will actually bring solutions. This is where 57% of our water comes from. And there are 3 villages who live in this watershed area. So when they say PS, everybody's grappling with what is PS, this complicated thing that everybody has a different understanding about. And for me, it's, again, following the flow. Rain falls, and then you follow the flow. And the quality of the water there, the quantity of the water there is very dependent on what happens here. And the users at the end, which is us, really, I think they're, again, in the whole idea of disrupting old narratives and building new narratives, how to connect even folks here in our comms functions, Cass and Jas and Sue, to knowing this landscape?
So the main work that I've been involved in was with SFI and FMU5 in TrueSmarty. Both were sort of conceived as models to implement a different sort of management, a different economy, what we call as conservation economy, which evolved out of the FMU roundtable and sort of interlinks with the state level FMP process and FMP sort of plan and policy and so on. The SFI part was covered by Cynthia to some extent on the sort of the governance structure, but on the technical side of managing the area, we looked at, we tried arguing with the company as well as with the forestry department on thinking of a new kind of land use which involves a lot more conservation and a lot more inflow of revenue. Similar to that is the FMU5, which is in TrueSmarty, which is sort of in what in FS we call as the heart of Sabah. So what's happening in that area is that the company has been taken over by a new company, new owners, and they are developing a new forest management plan. The land use proposed is in some ways very similar to the one that was followed in the previous 10 years. On paper, this has been the plan, but of course it wasn't practiced on ground. The idea is that a major, almost the whole FMU gets exploited for its timber resources. And we've provided very detailed feedback on this FMP. We sort of made lots of engagement and waited for the FMP to be given to us. When it came to, we provided detailed comments and also highlighted many sort of top-level issues on how this contravenes or deviates from Sabah's, long-standing forest policy. It deviates from the sustainable forest management principles, and it sort of undercuts the HCV and so on. So these feedback have been provided to the forestry department, which hopefully will be considered. In fact, as we speak, they're having an internal forestry department meeting this morning to discuss our feedback and then sort of plan or sort of, I think, to think about how they want to respond to us.
Last couple of months that we have bengkel with Kampung Putala in Taman Negara Rendang Ompeng, Johor Bahru, so to helping this community to develop their own strategic planning for tourism things. So we have more than 30 participants who's involved in the program. And for the 5 days program, or 4 days program, so we managed to get draft strategic planning for the tourism planning for Kampung Peta. For the last couple of months, I kept the kena bagi contract for forest restoration work in Tanah Padang. So dengan seluas 42 hektar lah. Yeah, so we also teaching them how to using the GPS and using the Google Map to do the mapping lah. Apart from that, also kami juga terlibat dengan memberi consultancies lah kepada penduduk di Kampung Boyan, Ulu Papar. This project is about riparian buffer zone plan lah. So yaitu zon pembina zon pemampat sungai lah di Kampung Boyan, di mana kita fokus daripada Kampung Boyan hingga di Kampung Tiko lah.
Or starting to coordinate HCV aspects for the Sabah HCV assessment report. And so Casey, as he mentioned earlier, he's been tasked to help lead HCV 4 part, which is all to do with ecosystem services, and myself for 5 and 6, which is all to do with looking at community livelihoods and the spiritual cultural values within the landscape for communities. We conducted a very short baseline survey with the PACOS network within the joint tactics session to have a look at the willingness of communities to actually be a part of this process, just to kind of give us an overview. And there was an overwhelming positive response in terms of not only communities wanting to be involved, which will include mapping and so on and so forth within their own communities. Protocols and safeguards, this isn't necessarily explicit within the current HCV assessments, but we believe it's extremely important in order to ensure that there's no undue harm within the mapping process to communities. We applied for one grant with where we incorporated some of the costs for this within the Cardiff, this Cardiff Research Network group, but that was rejected. However, they contacted me recently about another grant, so we'll have discussions about that. So I'm continuing to develop the species distribution maps at the moment, so I kind of jump in and jump out of that as and when I can. And also something that Casey and myself are involved in. This is a slow process, it's really concurrent, it's separate but concurrent to the HCV assessment work that's being done. It's a revision of a toolkit for identifying HCVs within the landscape, really targeted at land use managers for utilising this. The current toolkit is being revised within Malaysia, but it will be distinct between peninsula, so there will be one revision document for Peninsula Malaysia, one for Sarawak, one for Sabah. The CSPO, Lingit mentioned it before, we've actually revised the CSPO. I say CSPO and beyond because even though we've called this in the past the CSPO questionnaire, it is so much more than that now. It's probably going to take about 3 hours for the field team to conduct for one household, and also Holly has given some really great input in terms of how this can actually then expand on the existing Sumuku questions to look at FPIC.